Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome back to the D2L Western Challenge. It's going to be our last best of 3 of the week. Just a single header here today. But I'll tell you what, Fnatic, yeah, they're a team worth watching right now. We'll come back around to that, but they are coming off of a pretty big win and now facing arguably their biggest test in the last 48 hours. Na'Vi looking to improve their record and solidify their bid for a top seed in the Western Challenge's playoff time approaches. Let's take a look at the team, see how they stack up man for man and record for record. Beginning with Na'Vi, we can see they currently sit in second position. They're 4-1 overall. And yeah, as of right now, with only 2 series left to play, this being one of them, a win here pretty much guarantees a top seed for them. Of course, some things can happen behind the pack, and we still have Roxkas, who is basically going to be burning through their entire schedule, looking ahead to the next week's set of matches. But for right now, Na'Vi, again, if they can advance to 4-1 with 11 points under their belt, they're going to be as strong a contender as anyone for one of those top 2 seeds that get a bye heading into our playoff bracket coming up later this spring/summer. So they're led by Puppy on the hard support. Hardly needs an introduction. One of the best Chim players you're ever going to see, and one of the most famous and infamous figures in all of Dota 2. They're known, of course, on hard carry. Havos, one of the more entertaining carry players you're ever going to watch, and oftentimes overlooked for just how quickly and efficiently he does farm. Then, of course, Dendi in mid, arguably the most famous Dota 2 player on the planet right now, and for the foreseeable future, no doubt about it. Always a pleasure to get to watch him play, and last time he was in action, actually got to see him handle the Pudge, and what a blast that was. And of course, Fnatic out in the off lane, and Kuroki on the hard support. On the other side of the river, the interesting story that is Fnatic as they get ready for tournament season coming up. We can see their record is not amazing right now, but over the last 24 hours, they've actually managed to tally 2 very solid wins. Their lone win so far came against Alliance, who's been looking so very good over the last week or so. And they didn't just beat them yesterday, they beat them very handily after dropping their first series of the day. And then, of course, it's a little recent, so I don't want to give spoilers other than to say they just got a pretty big win elsewhere against a major team. And now, facing another big test again, just in a span of 24 hours, they're set to try and improve their record to 2-3 and put them in a race for the playoff spots that are available. They're going to be 6 of 8 that'll be going to our postseason. They're led by on the hard support. Era out in the carry position, very efficient farmer in his own right, and honestly a very, very talented playmaker. Hani, who's been absolutely on fire of late, as has the support in No-Tail. No-Tail, a fan favorite because of his wide hero pool and the flamboyance with which he seems to play pretty much every hero he ever gets his hands on. Then Trixie holding down the offlane. Well, I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. I'll be joined by Trout once again, as always, for D2L Western Action. We're here at our studio in downtown San Francisco. I want to thank you for being a part of the broadcast. Again, this is our lone best of 3 of the day. It's going to be the last one of the week as well. We have many more on the docket looking ahead to next week and the week after that. Obviously, we're beginning to get spread out a little bit now, due to nothing more than tournament conflicts and us working as closely as we can with Star Ladder, ESL, etc., to make sure that all of these teams do have time to play in every tournament across the board as spring gets more and more packed and more cluttered with Dota 2 action. Game 1 on the way. Na'Vi taking on Fnatic in just a moment. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Reserve time.
And right on into the draft, it seems like we kind of got the rhythm down with this. We always come in just as the second ban phase seems to be starting. Na'Vi opening up with Bat Rider and the Treant Protector, and Fnatic gonna land themselves a first and second pick, Io and Tiny, which means this should be an entertaining game no matter how things end up playing out. It'll be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Na'Vi banning out the Dazzle and the Ancient Apparition, without a doubt, the emerging Tier 1 supports that it seems like every team is paying a lot of attention to as we get closer and closer to tournament time in TI4, and Fnatic going with what I would call the chalk bans, the Lycan and the Ember Spirit. To help break down the draft and, of course, lend his insight and analysis to the entire tournament, welcome in once again, Trout. And, Trout, Fnatic has, we were talking yesterday about the fact that Fnatic kind of does this once in a while. They kind of experiment and they slump a little bit. It seems like it's always right around spring, and then just as we're getting towards the international, just as we're approaching the tail end of spring and on into summer, they just seem to pick it up so quickly and get so good so fast. And really, I think we're seeing that in a very small fashion over the last 24 hours. They looked amazing against Alliance. They looked amazing against Empire just moments ago. And now, though, facing arguably the biggest test of the 3 in Na'Vi.
Yeah, and interesting thing to note as we're just...
I guess Trouf is probably muted up once again. Come on, Ann. Hit that mute button.
Yeah. All right, well, one interesting to note here is that as we're talking about the draft early on...
I want to bring your volume down a little bit.
Am I loud?
You flicked it up a little bit.
Okay,
so.
1 sec.
Yeah, no problem, man.
It's just the... I don't know. You know what? It went up automatically to 100%. I literally checked it right before I went, and it just randomly went back again. I don't know what.
I've had that issue with microphones before, as have a lot of people. Sometimes you just got to keep an eye on it for whatever reason, depending on what kind of setup you're using. Dodo, when it loads into an actual game, has a tendency to want to take that over and crank it to 100%. So yeah, just try and keep an eye on it. But for now, go ahead, my friend.
It should be better now, though. You
sound great.
Okay, so yeah, speaking clearly just about the draft right now. When we saw Fnatic play Alliance yesterday, they both respected each other's wisp right away. Well, Na'Vi, maybe not necessarily to be the case right now, as we see a very quick IO Tiny here coming out for Fnatic. But as far as to further your point is how Fnatic has been doing, yeah, it's like a roller coaster for them, man. They're up and they're down. Sometimes they look so damn good. Sometimes they look like they could just be top 4 TI if we went to TI right now. Sometimes they look like it's questionable whether to get an invite. I mean, they're just so up and down. And it really comes down to their draft, I think, is the biggest thing. But all in all, I will say, like, and I mentioned this yesterday, in the last month and a half or so, Hani has just been playing so well, and really, to me, has been their standout performer for their team.
Could not agree with you more. And I was having a conversation with a couple of friends and a couple of other folks in esports. So what I think we're beginning to see, we all know we're very close to the international, but we still have a number of months to go, and especially with so many live lands that are going to be taking place between now and then, we are going to continue to see trends peak and valley, and eventually we'll probably see teams begin to settle into very specific things that they believe are the strongest heading into those big tournaments, and especially towards the international. And I think the number one trend that we're beginning to pick up on a little bit is that mid has, again, you can still run mid as it usually is. I mean, obviously you're going to try to farm like hell, you're going to try to get good items, your good levels, and then gank off of it if you can. But more and more, that mid position is becoming more favorable to people who just farm like hell out of it. Take a look at Arteezy. Take a look at the way Resolution happens to play as Invoker, rushing the Midas, for example. It just seems like teams are beginning to really get on board with that, and it seems like Hani, among many players, is benefiting from that especially.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, the tree picked up here is, I think, a good tool against Tony or Tiny. I just love calling him that. I don't know. It's just funny to me. And it keeps him in place. We've talked about that. And as long as you can stop him from being so mobile in team fights and moving around, then I think it really... Because basically he's just a melee attacker. Like, his spells are good, but they don't really come into effect too much in the mid to late game. It's really just his auto attack damage once he gets that big tree up on him with the Aghanim. So if you're able to contain his movement with whether it be sticky napalm or the tree and protector's ulti, things like that, then these are great tools against Tiny specifically. But if he does go for that BKB, it makes it a little bit more difficult to contain him. And then when you have the IO on top of that, it just really makes him a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, very much agree. And, looking at what Na'Vi already has, granted, we are very much into the draft, or very much early in the draft, but just to build on that point, whenever you see the carry Tiny, even if it is with an IO in his hip pocket, a lot of times something that just works unbelievably well against him, and this is something basically just building on your point, is Batrider being able to lasso him out and get a jump on him early in the fight. Because what he usually wants to do is bull forward off of some sort of form of initiation, land an avalanche and a toss if he can, and then just go crazy with IO overcharging him and so on. But if you can isolate him out, he is very kiteable, and we've seen that even in D2L play. And Na'Vi, with the Batrider, the lasso, obviously great to pull him out of position, also serves as very effective counter initiation off of relocates. If you have a Bad who's very quick on the trigger with his ultimate, you're going to be able to kind of take away the punch of the relocate. And the Treant also, with overgrowth, means that they happen to be relocated on, he can either overgrow just so they can reset and re-engage, or just to escape, and it's very effective in that manner as well. But looks like Na'Vi, after the success that Dendi's had on TA lately, no reason not to go back to her. She will work well against Tiny to a certain extent just because of how hard he hits, but she has refraction that'll be able to mitigate some of that damage. The Invoker, though, going to be the fourth pickup now for Fnatic.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Fnatic is going to lane this. I've seen them run IO Tiny mid. I've seen them go dual lanes, although it's going to be kind of interesting if they went dual lanes with Invoker, Bane, and Tiny Wisp. That would seem kind of weird. Maybe the Bane pick is just a combative tool against Batrider in the off lane, so you can sleep him and get him into position to set something up. And that's the important thing right now in this metagame, in this patch, is being able to get heroes that can actually kill an offlane, because there are so many good offlane heroes. So Bane is definitely a good tool for that. Invoker, very, very strong. Hani's Invoker is quite strong as well. When you think about strong Invokers, you think about Hani, think about Resolution, and so on and so forth. And Shadow Shaman here for Na'Vi. This is another support hero that it seems there's been a lot of support heroes floating around on the scene, honestly. Good diversity, but Shadow Shaman's up there because his wards are so powerful and pushing.
Yep, love Shadow Shaman. He comes into his own so very early if he gets any decent amount of level gain, gives you 2 excellent forms of lockdown, and especially against the Tiny. You know, we talked about this the last couple of times we've seen Tiny picked up. He's a hero that has no qualms about getting a BKB, but generally, you know, he wants to rush his Scepter, then try to go a little bit bigger off of that in terms of damage or in terms of anything else you happen to want. And, you know, heroes like Shadow Shaman kind of force him to get a BKB a little bit earlier than he would normally want, especially if the Rasta manages to get up an early mobility item. The ability to just jump on top of him is tremendous, and as you said, the wards give them push potential, it gives them counter push potential, and with the tree already on the team, this is going to be a hell of a game of tower defense for Na'Vi. They've got a lot of tools in their arsenal to play that kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely. This last pick here, probably going to be an off lane, although I guess it could be an off-lane Invoker, but that's just not my cup of tea, and I don't think that Fnatic would run that, because when you have Hani and you have Invoker picked up, I think it should be mid. So, other options, I was going to mention, yes, Centaur's banned out. That would have been very, very good for Fnatic, and it's going to be Mirana. So, this could also open up some different lanes than we would expect normally. We could possibly see some interesting tri-lane or even dual lanes, honestly, with Mirana Bane. We could see that aggressively, because, and the thing is Treant Protector, while he's very strong, unless you're very out of position, he doesn't have too much kill potential early on. He can protect people, hence his name, Protector. But and Mirana's never going to get out of position. Bane might, but Bane also has tools to get away or get his HP back. So yeah, I think there's a possibility that we might see some kind of dual lanes here come out for Fnatic.
Yeah, I'm on board with that, and we're going to see Na'Vi grab up the Weaver for Havost, and very much a Havost-esque kind of a hero. Weaver Tree, by the way, very, very strong. Allows you to play ultra aggressive, what you're doing, and these two players certainly do. And you can end up diving tier 1s and even tier 2s unbelievably early into the game. And that is very punishing to heroes like Bane and Mirana, who are not the most survivable, to say nothing of Io in the early game, who is just basically paper mache. So we'll see how the lanes are going to end up working themselves out. I like the draft on both sides, though. I feel like a lot of this is going to come down to how efficiently Fnatic can farm with Era and how efficient they can be with their relocations. Are they going to go with a gank-centric kind of an approach for Era, or are they going to try to make space with their other heroes while just allowing No-Tail to sit in Era's back pocket while he free farms and pushes lanes and then relocate into fights as they happen?
Yeah, and looking at the lanes early on here, Na'Vi rushing 5, and Na'Vi Puppey is going to grab the boots early on. So I talked about how his killing potential is not so high unless you can close the distance. Well, now he can with the 350 movement speed. So they're going to give him another option there to get the level 1 leech seed off if he so chooses. They might run into some members of Fnatic, but it's going to be hard to kill both of them. Obviously, Wisp can tether away, and you have Leap coming out from Trixie, so...
No-Tail and Havost getting eyes on each other. The rest of Fnatic is trailing quite a bit behind, and No-Tail will have no problem making it away. Looks like Fnatic has no desire to try and fight this out at level 1, suspecting that Na'Vi is running as quite a large group. We can see the magic bush warded by Na'Vi, and you know, the only issue with this ward spot is it's so well known and it's so easy to identify that it usually gets counter warded pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does. They don't have sentries yet, but No-Tail's hoarding up 500 gold. I think he wants to wait and see if he needs to really counter it, or if he can buy, a fast bottle. I've seen this happen a number of times, but yeah, I agree with you. It is easy to distinguish whether it's actually there or not, but sometimes it's not even necessary to counter ward it, as it looks like we might see an aggressive it's actually Invoker in the top lane with a tiny mid with so interesting dual lanes. I thought there might be dual lanes, but these weren't the ones I was expecting.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Fly hooking up with the Invoker, as you said. No-Tail's going to be here in mid. I really like this kind of an approach for Fnatic. They're one of the best in the business at running this sort of a dual lane, and Dendi actually blocks the lead creep into the tower there, so they're going to have to be fighting up at top. Puppy's there, but he's taking some damage as the illusion rune picked up from No-Tail. Not hitting super hard, but just enough that he can't just engage through it. And yeah, we can see, I mean, he's not all that heavy on the HP. Down at bottom, it'll be Trixie taking on Havos, and that'll be a fun matchup to watch, but certainly most of the action going to be centered around here in mid lane.
It was actually really cool what No-Tail did. He tethered one of the creeps in the front as the first wave came out so that it would run ahead of all of them, so that it would kind of give them a little bit better lane positioning. So kind of an interesting little move there by No-Tail. I'm sure people could use that in the future if they want to.
And Dendi should be struggling quite a bit here. We can see this is something that Fnatic, again, runs fairly frequently. They're known for running this kind of a lane, and they're very, very effective at it. And the question becomes, what can Na'Vi do to try to stop it? I mean, they're obviously going to be sharing XPs. We can see they're both short of level 2, while Dendi's already level 2.5. So that's a sacrifice they're making. But to get Tiny off to this kind of a start is something I think they're going to be willing to do. We can actually see Puppy is hanging around just north of the tier 2, and yep, taking a look at the courier, looks like he's not going to be able to. Up here it comes.
He's backing away right as it comes.
Yep.
Oh, that's kind of unfortunate. He might go back though. He's got boots. He's very fast. So.
Yep, it looks like that's going to be the plan. Tree hits so hard at level 1, and we're still a minute and 15 seconds short. Up, No-Tail actually spots it and was pulling back to make sure that the courier got there safely. So a little bit of mind gaming, but looks like Puppy unable to pull the cloak and dagger routine.
That's good heads up from No-Tail, by the way. It's boots purchased by Era, and then the bottle, as I talked about, by No-Tail. And he walked back. He knew that Treant was trying something cheeky there because he was off the map for no reason. Oh, action maybe top? Nope.
Yep.
Croaky gets
Puppy,
slept, but nothing happening.
Puppy picks up a double damage rune, and a tree with a double damage rune is about the scariest thing you're ever going to see at level 1. Seriously, he hits so hard. 170 damage per auto attack, and it looks like Era will use the Avalanche. That'll bring down the refraction. And it is worth mentioning that Avalanche does work as in ticks, so it actually does melt refraction down fairly quickly in situations like that.
Yeah, Dendi doing some good return damage. So looking at CS, he's 5-3, but yeah, Tiny's pretty much just completely free farming here in the mid lane. So really good for him. At the very least, though, they're not being able to kill Dendi, which I think is very important for Na'Vi. Bottom lane, Havos is getting very aggressive down here against Trixie.
Yep, Trixie trying to hold his own, but coming up a bit short, running about half speed compared to Havos right now, so he's not going to mind that at all. And Dendi, as you said, is kind of holding serve here in mid. 10 CS now, giving a little bit of a pat on the back to Era with the meld as he runs back uphill. But yeah, I think this is, I don't think Na'Vi's going to be too broken up about this. They've got Puppy up in the top lane now, just pulling while Kuro soaks experience up front with the Bad Rider. He's already level 3. He is going to be going with the max Ether Shock build, at least so far. 2 points in Ether Shock, 1 into Shackles. And fairly quiet early game. That could change though as Dendi once again Avalanche slowed by the tether. Here comes the Sunstrike and the toss. Almost got him. Nope, never mind. Tree there with the living armor to keep him up and fighting. We're beginning to see that kill potential come to fruition now for Fnatic, and Na'Vi just going to have to be very, very careful or start rotating help.
Well, the cool thing is they don't even need to rotate it all that much if Puppy's on ball with these living armors. And I remember last time we saw Puppy play this tree, it was just fun to watch. It was like PPD status, man. Yeah. Like he was on the ball with those living armors all the time, maxing or using it on the towers every single time he could, so the tower was always at full HP. So right there, I don't think it saved Dendi, but it definitely made him a lot more secure.
No-Tail finds himself another rune, and we can see the courier on the way back now with the bottles, so unable to bottle that up. But yeah, it doesn't look like either team is super interested in trying to rotate all that much. Na'Vi seems fairly happy with the way this top lane is going. Taking a look at Hani's Invoker. Sitting at 12 CS in this lane is not terribly bad. Not great, but certainly acceptable, at least for the moment. But again, it's all about this duo lane. And how do you feel like this is working out? Do you feel like this is good enough for Fnatic, or like they should have gotten a kill by now?
Maybe they should have gotten a kill, but it's very hard. Dendi's playing very, very far back, and even though the Avalanche does go through some of the refraction charges, it's not enough, and it's, Templar Assassin has a decent HP pool as well, and has a magic stick now completed, or magic wand, I should say, so.
Here we go, Nightmare, Bane rotating over. Thought we'd see this eventually. There's going to be the living armor and the toss. Sunstrike's there, almost blew him up at the refraction off cooldown. Now Kuro's there, that big Ether Shock and the Shackles on the Era. Gonna tally a big kill for Na'Vi. Not only do they get it, but they get Dendi, and Fly not out of trouble yet as he takes a little bit more damage. And great reaction out of Na'Vi. They knew it was coming. They had Puppey in position and Kuro quick on the trigger to get involved as well. And that's where those extra levels on that support come from. He actually got a point into Hex as well, so you have both disables and 2 points into Ether Shock for damage. Great kill. Era takes a spill.
I mean, that just goes to show you how powerful Refraction plus Living Armor is, man. Like, he's almost invulnerable at this stage, and that was, like, a good combo from Fnatic. Like, it does a lot of freaking damage, so that's kind of disheartening if you're Fnatic, if you have a great setup like that and you still get the kill through Refraction and Living Armor. So it's only going to get worse, too, as Living Armor gets more levels into it.
Trixie was at a bit of a sniper's post there and tried to hit an arrow on Havost, and Havost reacted just quickly enough to avoid it. Here comes some more reactions down the bottom. Havost giving Trixie some auto attack damage in the meantime. Puppey's got eyes on Fly. They're going to come behind him. Dendi's there too. There's the Leech Seed. Moonlight Shadow's going to be used. And yep, they don't know where he is. Can't do anything about it. No detection. Was waiting to see if they had a sentry, but doesn't look like that's the case. So the rest of the map left to free farm, at least for the moment. Arrow trying to catch up and make up some of that ground he lost in that early death mid.
Well played by Trixie. He's one of the few Miranas that still levels it up. The Moonlight Shadow at level 6. A lot of times you'll see Miranas that when they're played in a core role like this, at least solo, when they should be doing quite well, is you want to get a little bit greedy and get more points in your Sacred Era so you have more killing potential, but he realizes that he's really not getting much in this lane at all, so he wants to be a little more utility based, and yeah, definitely saving his buddy right there.
Well, that's the thing about a Mirana, and you and I have talked about it extensively, and hell, I've talked about it with almost every caster I've worked with in the last year. The idea of the pure one position or hard farming Mirana, I mean, it's fine if you get sufficiently far ahead. It just tends to take so long for you to get that far, and Era taking a little damage here in mid. But, you know, it seems like the most effective and versatile way to play her is just like this. Get her levels, get her some experience. You can always build a Maelstrom later. Avalanche on the Dendi in mid. Toss is there. Refraction back up, though, and Living Armor there to help make up the difference. Up at top, we can see a dive onto the tier 1. Hani in some trouble, and he is burning inside the Firefly. Kuro will be finished off by No Tail, and they do get Hani as well, though. And Fnatic trying to make his way back through the trees. We saw the reaction out of Fnatic just a little bit too late. No Tail there to at least trade him away, but losing your Invoker in exchange for the Shadow Shaman, not the best trade.
Nope, Trixie's very, very low down here. He has leap up, but Havost is just doing a lot of damage to this tower, and honestly, Trixie is getting destroyed down here. Like, I know Weaver has a better matchup just because he has a lot more auto attack damage starting out, but I really feel like Trixie should maybe be doing it just a little bit better down here. It is 41-15, Weaver to 14-2 Potom. So this is a huge discrepancy, and it's gonna pay off dividends here for Havost come mid game.
Dendi finds himself an invis, and looks like yep, he's gonna go ahead and spend it. Only ward in the vicinity belongs to Na'Vi. Trixie leaps into the trees trying to keep himself safe. And Na'Vi's going to collapse hard here. Did Kuro find 6? No, he's still just level 5. Thought they might be trying to maybe collapse and push. No Tail's right there. And here we go. Arrow onto Havost. Caught him behind the tower. There's going to be a Sunstrike as well, so they're going to get him for free. Here comes Puppey, though. Looking for the Leech Seed. They may be able to get Trixie, and they do, as Dendi tallies another one. No Tail. Invis. As is Hani. No action. They got the dust off. They spent it, actually. But it was a Fnatic that got it off and managed to bring down a Havost with it. As of right now, Na'Vi not quite investing in it. However, they do take another kill, and they do manage to take down the tier 1 bottom after losing Havost.
Yeah, that was a very low percentage kill, but Fnatic was able to capitalize with a really nice arrow starting it off, and Sunstrike right on the mark, too. I didn't think they were going to be able to get that, but they did, so well played from Fnatic, because Trixie was in a huge bind there. He already had a leap
What
up
a
cooldown.
stack. Holy crap. I just got here in time to see Arrow's taking out like a 4 or 5 stack on the hard camp.
Jeez, yeah. That's a lot of good money for Tony there. And Wisp.
And he's going to finish his drums off of that. That's a ton of gold. You may want to reset your connection real quick. You're beginning to drop in and out just a little bit. But, yeah, that's certainly a nice catch-up mechanic, and well done from the supports of Fnatic, getting the stack going. Fnatic has his Blink Dagger up, has yet to reveal it for the first time. Lasso, of course, on the ready, standing at level 8. A kill on Nahani would be quite a big deal. He's only got Kuro with him, though. Don't know that they would have enough damage. Here we go into mid. Havost Chikuchiing through. Fnatic has down the sentry, and they're going to be able to catch Havost. There's the toss. Living Armor on the mark, but it doesn't matter. He's just bursted down way too quickly. Behind that, we're going to see another lasso on the Trixie. Good nightmare from Fly. And here comes Era as well as No Tail to re-engage. Kuro's going to be the target. Brain Sap in the toss brings him down. Behind that, Fnatic looked like he wanted to try to get back into the fight. He's going to go ahead and have to cheat south, though. And he's on the wrong side of the map. Fly doesn't have the mana for another Nightmare. Fnatic going to cut into lane and try to find safety up on the ridge line. Might have some help coming through. Puppey's going to find himself a regen. And the arrow on the mark. Shot that from the middle of the lane and secures the kill for Hani with a downtown artillery. Well played by Fnatic as they open up a lead and get the gold graph moving back in their direction a little bit. And it looks like we're going to have to reconnect our good friend Shrouf in just a moment. For now, though, Fnatic quite happy to just keep things moving, and I think he's back. But, oh, actually, yeah, we've got to reconnect him now. And there we go.
Hey, how am I doing?
Much better,
okay.
Much better.
I see some arrows hitting all across the map.
Yeah, that he shot that from basically mid lane and picked him off just south of the Dire Side secret shop. But anyway, 5-3, and that's actually a big sequence for Fnatic. If you look and see, Na'Vi was definitely on pace to begin just taking control of the game from a gold and experience perspective, but now they've managed to bring it back, not quite to even, but at least cut things down to mid-game and reasonable.
Yeah, I'm actually still surprised that the gold lead is still quite well in favor of Na'Vi. Oh, action here in mid.
Yep, Dendi engaged upon. There's the toss living armor's there, and now they're going to try to turn it around, and the meld connects on Era. Here comes Bat, has the lasso. And looked like he wanted to spend a flame break to knock them back. Era's coming back up under Moonlight Shadow. Dendi does not have refraction on right now. Era's going to engage. There you go. And able to bring him down once again. It looks like up at top, Bane plus Mirana able to tally a kill as well. So just like that, Fnatic, who seemed like they were running out of momentum early on, has built up a new head of steam and is rolling well at 12 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic job there by Fnatic, and it's just going to continue to get worse. I mean, Tiny Wisp is so strong. He's got so much good farm here early on from Tiny. As I'm pulling up the net worth, he's definitely on top with 5,400. So, going to have Aghanims up here pretty shortly, and that's going to be pretty scary here for Na'Vi.
Like you said, the Scepter coming very soon. Has gone Drubs, went Treads as well. Dendi is sitting currently near the top in terms of CS, though, but he has died a few more times than he would have liked. Sitting at, actually no, he's only died once. I thought they got him a time previous. That's just my mistake. So he's sitting at 2-1 and doing about as good a job as really you can ask for. 0-3 for Kuro. Certainly he's not too happy about that. But at this point, I mean, we're still very early on here, Trouf. Who do you think the onus is on to make more happen on the map? Is it Fnatic's game to just sit and turtle, or do you think they need to engage? We're going to have a engagement onto Fnatic, and he's actually going to be caught with an arrow down at bottom, where you see they're going to get another kill onto Havos. This time they're going to be coming right back in, though. And let's see if it's just going to be Io or if it's going to be Io and Tiny. Down go the wards, and he's going to immediately tether to a creep. And Hani there to help him. Trixie right there to engage onto Dendi. Dendi heading to the south and beginning to back up. There's the Avalanche followed up with the arrow. And Fly there to help clean things up. And Kuro comes forward with an Ether Shock, but he's way outgunned and will end up dying to auto attacks and spirits. Era charging down Puppey now. Has a toss, will use it. And kills him with one last swing of the big rocky fist. The double kill for Era, and already Fnatic doing what we've seen them do for a day or two now. Just kind of ease into the early game, then take over. Fnatic wants to turn it around with the lasso. There's a cold snap to try to disjoin it. Era in a bit of trouble. Gets off the Avalanche. Will not be able to make it away as the flame break is online. And that's going to force them back still. Picking off Era, a nice step in the right direction, but they lost a hell of a lot before they were able to bring the big man down. And Havost continuing to farm up in the jungle as he hooks back up with Na'Vi, and they look to get things back online. It's honestly just about an even game now. 1 point Na'Vi held a 4K lead, and now it's back to 0. The experience actually in favor of Fnatic, and Dendi could be a target again. Shows off his blink, has to use it to escape.
Yeah, this is just like a different Fnatic team than we've seen when we've cast them before. They're banging on all cylinders. They're capitalizing on every little tiny mistake that Na'Vi's making, and it's starting to get kind of out of control, honestly. I mean, it's actually the gold is still in favor of Na'Vi's experience, heavily in favor though of Fnatic's. And the cool thing about this Wisp Tiny combination is that you can always, once it comes to the mid game and you have your items, you can outfarm the enemy team so much more because they're constantly in fear of the teleport gank, but you can constantly keep farming at the same time of looking for ganks. So it's a really, really good tool to have.
And this is where the question of the Weaver pick up against the Tiny really comes into play. There's, Dendi dead again. Bean's gripped and blown to pieces. Sunstrike on the way, but mostly ceremonial. As they bring him down, we'll see if No Tail's going to take him back with him, or if they're just going to try to push here. Looks like they're just going to tether back home. And away they go, heading back into that mid lane. They may end up pushing off of it up here. Trixie and getting some much-needed farm. But yeah, that Weaver pickup, as good as Weaver can be, he takes a while to really get online. Now they're going to try to with an avalanche. He was bit out of vision, and a toss just to give him a little bit of a send-off. All of this action, though, freeing up this top lane for a push. And Hani still going to work here in the jungle.
Dire's top tower.
Yep, more stacks coming out for Fnatic too. Look at all these. They're so good about this. I've said this about them before too. They're so good about constantly stacking and utilizing the entire jungle at their disposal and getting absolute free farm everywhere they can. So really well played here for Fnatic, getting maximum resources, and it's showing too, because this was a pseudo off-lane invoker. He's next to top net worth as Roshan goes down here for Na'Vi. That's good for them, but he's pretty much close up there with Batright in terms of net worth, and then Tiny's just way far ahead at 7,500.
Na'Vi taking a free Roshan should help to get them back on track. Dendi the one to pick up the Aegis, and we can see a bottom of Oshus continuing to farm away. He will be going for a straight-up BKB, as he's already picked up the Ogre Club, and Tree trying to use the Living Armor to keep these towers up. Not going to work against the Tiny, who's now level 11, and basically as soon as this tower drops, yeah, he's got his Scepter and 150 gold. They're going to have to start worrying about that right now.
Yeah, they really are. And after that, like I mentioned, once you see, the cool thing about this is, even though if he doesn't get a BKB early, he might decide to get one later, he's still quite mobile because you get extra movement speed from Grow, and then the Drums of Endurance also helps you out. So he's actually still pretty fast. He's up to 400 movement speed, well, just under. And then with Wisp connecting to him, he just gets even faster. So, like I talked about, some of his limitations are being able to kite him and then just move around him. But he's still pretty fast, all things considered, without that BKB. To like keep him in the fights.
And looks like Na'Vi beginning to really feel the fear of the Tiny. They're having to stick so close together in so many situations. This is why Avalanche is there, the toss and the Sunstrike. The refraction, though, back up in time. So they're unable to bring him down, but still able to scare the hell out of him and force him back with about half health. Very nearly got the Aegis there. Up atop, Fly and Trixie basically just staying in each other's back pocket to make sure that if they are engaged upon, they have ways out, and of course a great initiation team on their own. And speaking of stacks, how about a stack Ancients while you're at it? Fnatic is going berserk. His current net worth almost 3K higher than anyone else on the board.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Boards are going to drop, and the glyph used to try and keep this tier 1 standing. Let's see if they want to engage. Na'Vi got to be very careful about this. There's going to be the Moonlight Shadow, and Na'Vi is just about ready to engage. Nope, looks like they will go ahead and fall back. Thought Funnick was going to try for a jump onto either Arrow or Hani, but they will go ahead and just fall back and keep themselves safe for at least a little while longer.
Yep, DD here bottled for Dendi. As I haven't really talked about much with his build, but he's gone for the Phase Blink build, and there's so many different builds here for TA. I think this is good, and it's going to be a bursty build. If he can get one person down immediately, similar idea with Batrider. Batrider gets one person, lassos them, you burst someone down immediately, and then you're fighting the fight on 4v5. And after that, I will say that Havos is this is a good hero for kiting around Tiny, but his farm is, I mean, honestly, it's pretty crappy. He's sitting in the middle of the pack at a net worth of 5,400, so he needs some more damage items, but before that, he's going for a BKB. He feels he needs to be alive in team fights first and foremost, so it's going to be some time before that happens.
There's going to be a lasso onto No Tail, trying to bring him back, but they're all grouped up. AoE damage is there. No Tail survived a little bit longer than anyone really expected. Trixie has to leap out. There's the overgrowth we knew Puppy would have on call if he wanted to use it to retreat or initiate. Havost still trading what damage he can from the side, but he's going to be forced to pull back as well. They end up trading 1-for-1, but not the most favorable trade, trading the bat for the IO, and with Era still standing. He's got 1,700 gold still in his inventory with the Scepter. There's going to be an arrow shot and dodged by Kuro just across the river. But Dendi going to come in with a very ballsy meld, and they're going to try to follow this up. There's the cold snap as well. Living Armor buying him some time. There's the side trap to slow them down. Havos wants to re-engage perhaps. They're playing so gutsy 4-on-4 right now. Na'Vi still holding station in front of this tier 1. Dendi coming in. There's an arrow. Going to be missed again. And Era going to move back forward. Down go the wards. They shoot the tower for sure. Let's see how they want to fight this out. TP's coming in. That'll be No Tail. Hooking up immediately with Era. Here's Havos to try and chase him down. They're slowed from behind. Here we go. Puppey coming in. Down comes the rock, but Dendi eating a lot of damage along with Havos. Time lapse from Havos. Era's taking very little damage at this stage, and there's a lasso, though. No Tail brought back out of the fight. They should be able. No, he's actually going to be nightmared, and Puppey hit with the arrow from Murata. Could not. No, he did get off the overgrowth. Died just as he managed to get it off. And Sunstrike didn't even hear where that was. Looks like they might have been shooting at Kuro, but Havost still being pursued out. Trixie's right there with him. Has a Sacred Arrow in 1 second. Havost trying to lose himself in the woods. We'll have Shikuchi up again and should be cut off one more time, as this is just a Havost situation here. And Havost able to stutter step it. They're not sure where he went. Looks like Trixie ready to just go ahead and give up on the pursuit. So little out there, but manages to stay breathing one way or the other.
Yep, good fights. Again, it's just this Tiny is just getting so crazy. And I'm probably going to see him go for AC right after this. I think this is what he normally gets. And he's walking to the side shop, or the secret shop. Probably going to get that Hyperstone. Yep. So it's going to be an AC for him. Obviously, that extra armor and the extra attack speed on top of the Aghanim's with the tree on him is going to be really, really good. And again, the Weaver would be very, very good for him as far as cutting him down, but they lack damage severely. The damage output is really coming from Dendi, but it's very difficult for him to get in there and sustain his damage without a BKB. That being said, he's actually quite close to that, so I think that's going to be the timing window here for Na'Vi to start fighting and really trying to combat this Tiny with his immense amount of farm.
Yeah, I agree with you. Once he's survivable, we already see how slippery Havost is, both as a player and as a virtue of the hero. But a BKB allowing him to just focus fire Tiny down, if they can just control him and keep him off of their heavy hitters, they're going to be in much better shape. Puppey is under Nature's guise and looking to catch up with them now. Tier 1 still stands, so can't pursue them too far out. And the age is going to be reclaimed in just a few seconds, so Dendi manages to take that to its absolute max duration. They may use Moonlight Shadow here. Arrow going to be shot, and oh, it will catch Kuro right through the tree line. Here's Puppey to try and help him out. Nature's Guise is there. Avalanche eaten up by the living arm of spirits. Not enough damage to bring him down. Puppey way out front. Here comes Kuro to give him a dose of the old arc boots. Behind that, though, we're going to see them engaged. Now we're going to have the Fiend's Grip going off, and the toss to get Fly right on top of them. Manages to sleep. Puppey, he's going to be able to make it away. Fly finishes off Kuro with the Brain Sap as he tried to retreat to the south. So another 2-for-0 trade as Fnatic continues to come out ahead here.
They do. Looking at the gold chart, it's still actually quite even. Experience is really starting to gain in favor of a large favor here, Fnatic, and that's just simply because, well, obviously they're winning these fights. It's 16-5, so that's that. But as this progresses, it's going to become even worse because, like I mentioned, when you have a Wisp on your team with any hero, you can maximize your farm and still have the pressure on the other team constantly at any time, at any given time. They're picking out Havost here. Can they get him? They couldn't get the toss in time with the Sunstrike. Even if they did, I don't know if they have enough damage to fully get that kill. Era, he's activating his drums. He wants to go back, and we're playing Do here between mid.
Tosses the creep right on top of him. In the meantime, the rest of his team is setting up shop in the top part of the dire side jungle and just trying to starve them out. But yeah, you can see Na'Vi basically relegated to running as 5 or at 4 at minimum as much as he possibly can, just fearing the relocation. Dendi even forced to back out, knowing that if he was spent too much time in lane, he would end up being the next big target. Roche should be coming back up in just a few moments, and we'll see what Na'Vi's going to be able to do with it. Like you said, though, even though Fnatic is really tearing it up in terms of kills, Na'Vi is still right on par with him in terms of gold. The experience is becoming a bit of an issue, but as Tiny's one of those heroes that as he develops, he's very much a peak and valley kind of a hero. He peaks early whenever you have max avalanche toss, and he valleys out, and you have to use farm to make up for that. And he's already well on pace, and yeah, his assault cure is all but done now.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic for him, and if he does so choose that he needs a BKB later, he can get it, but honestly, with the start that he's had, the net worth that it's so much higher than everyone else, he probably doesn't even need it, to be honest. The BKB is not really going to do anything against physical damage either, and TA's like all physical damage. Here comes the grip onto Havost. Here's the Sunstrike on top of it with the relocate. Easy peasy kill here for Fnatic.
Yep, putting the relocate to work, and the Fiend's Grip is working ridiculously well in conjunction with relocation. Looks like they don't want to push. They're just going to go ahead and go right on back to mid. And Na'Vi seems to be scrambling a little bit now. Every time they get separated out, as slippery as a Weaver happens to be. Roche is up, by the way. As slippery as a Weaver happens to be, they're still not really having all that much trouble bringing him down. Havost has died 4 times this game with only 1 kill to his name.
Oh, that number. That number is this tower in mid, although it has been kept intact for quite some time from Treant. Boom! It dies in a matter of 7 seconds at most. So this is, you know, we didn't even touch on base pushing here with Wisp Tiny, as it's going to get ridiculous here as more levels and more farm come up for Era. He's not even 16 yet.
And that's all. Nope, exactly. He's about to get his last point in to grow. And that's really the problem whenever you get into these 25, 30 minutes, sometimes, 40, 50, 60-minute games, however long it goes, basically. Once Tiny hits a point of critical mass, you just can't lose fights anymore, or you're going to lose all of your buildings every time. Like, you don't have the option. And it doesn't matter when there's an IO on team, whether or not you lose them on your side of the map or their side of the map. They'll relocate on top of a tower and be able to out-damage you in terms of backdoor protection. So this is where Na'Vi has to tighten up even more. But the issue is, Weaver's just having such a tough game. Havos is has a long road to go before he's a real threat to Era at this stage.
Well, Invoker, being played by Hani is just making it even more difficult for Havos. He's gone for like a gank build as an Exort Invoker with the blink into Orchids, which is going to make it very, very difficult for Havos. Luckily for him, he does finally have his BKB, so he's going to be able to mitigate the silence there from Orchids. But nonetheless, the damage there is still there. And you mentioned with the grip, they have a number of ways to lock him down even through the BKB. So, not to mention just physical damage in general does wonders through BKB. So Havos, his farm needs to be much higher, but again, if there's one thing I've seen Havos do, it's come back in terms of farm. So we'll have to wait and see.
3. Would have taken 4 shots without the glyph for him to bring down that tier 1, literally. Would have taken 4 swings with that double damage rune. And he is hitting tremendously hard. Didn't even have IO with him. He probably could have melted that in 2 seconds if he had IO with him. Na'Vi looking to maybe get a pick here. We're going to hear a Sunstrike. Didn't even see where or who it was
just
on.
Roshan scouting.
I got you. Thought they were maybe taking a shot into the secret shop to see what they could see, but... and the other issue is Dendi has up his BKB as well, and that's nice. But like you said, I mean, the BKBs, one, they're not unlimited, and he and the Weaver both are shut down hard by Hani's Orchids. So it looks like they're going maybe a little desperation. Kuro dropped the wards, and this is selling out for this a little bit early. Those are now going to be on cooldown for a while, and the arrow was shot. Didn't see where it ended up spraying, but they're going to try to chase someone down. They're jumping on Fnatic as best they can. Na'Vi's going to collapse behind this. They're going to relocate to try and catch him again. It was actually just No-Tail that went there. Era's still behind this fight. And most of Na'Vi hanging out down in the river. Havos is actually going to face check the high ground here in the Radiant side jungle. Fnatic still being pursued, and No-Tail will be going back. Now we're going to have a fight as Era spots everyone out. There's a 2-man avalanche. Ice Wall goes down as well. He got signed. Let's see if they can follow it up. The Hex was there. The Shackles were there. It doesn't matter. Kuro basically spinning his wheels. Dendi caught with the Fiend's Grip. Refraction and Tree Armor keeping him alive for the moment, but doesn't matter. They're able to chase him down and clean him up without a whole lot of fuss after that. Arrow shot towards Havos, but unable to connect. So 3 for 1. They managed to bring down No-Tail out of all of it, but we're beginning to see just how impotent everyone on the side of Na'Vi is feeling in the face of Era and how tanky and how much damage he's doing. He's even picked up his Helm of the Dominator too, so he's going to have a fair amount of lifesteal. And yeah, this is just looking pretty desperate. Ghost might try to do something cheeky like a Roshan snatch, but honestly, they know they have vision. Looks like he's going to go in. And yeah, he's thinking about it. Oh, he got arrowed. Well shot by Trixie, and he's going to be orchided and cleaned up off of it. Puppy's going to get off the overgrowth, but he's standing by himself. Fnatic will try to last Era out. He's actually hanging around the Nightmare, just about preventing him from going to the high ground. Here comes No-Tail. No-Tail joining in. We'll go ahead and hook back up with Era as he walks back down. Roche very near dead. They're going to try to swipe this, and Puppy got it. Puppy took the Aegis, loses it immediately, though, as Era's there to help clean up shop and vacate the intruders, and No-Tail actually sent him home. That's a little odd. Honestly, I think they could have maybe turned that around. Hani was on the high ground. I guess Hani being at low health made them not super confident with the Mirana and the Bane both down. And Havo's going to try to chase Hani down. Here comes the Pain Gang, though, and Era. Going to miss with the Avalanche. Orchid's there, however. Tree Armor only going to do so much. Time lapse with the BKB active. Able to get him to safety, and Kuro just walks ahead and decides to Hex. Shackles onto Era. Now there's a tornado coming from Hani to try and disjoint things. Tossing on Kuro to bring him down again. Dendi re-engaging, but he can't touch him. Puppy's just being blown to pieces right now, and they just can't do anything to Era. He is cleaning house. Triple kill against the majority of Na'Vi's team there, and now ready to clean a creep wave as well. So Era just too big and too hard every time he swings that tree. 25-9. Na'Vi stole the Aegis, but the game still very much in Fnatic's hands.
Dire's
arrow on
middle
Dendi.
tower is under
Yep, caught him in the jungle, or in the river from the jungle. And Hani makes it a wicked sick streak for himself. They're just going to call it. Yeah, that's got to be demoralizing. And by the end, it's almost ridiculous, the lead that Fnatic seemed to build by the eyeball test. But look at the graphs. They're only about 5,000 gold ahead right now. However, their matchup and their late game was going to trounce that of Na'Vi, so they just call it early.